Alright, hello everybody and welcome on back to some Minecraft musings. Doing another before work video. So, so yeah, success. Got my new car, my new used car, which it's like a 2021 or something ridiculous. I mean, the payments are going to be ridiculous and I'm going to need to scrape and save and, cut back on some things, but at the same time, it was worth it because my other car was like breaking down on me. It already broke down on me once with the kids in the car. And they were troopers though. They were really cool about it. They were like, they kind of thought it was a fun adventure, which honestly, I remember having similar situations when I was a kid and my parents would have car trouble like, it didn't happen often, but like it was a reality. I think one of the biggest things was we tried to stop in actually it wasn't even car trouble. We stopped at a rest area and a bunch of people that vagrants, hippies, people experiencing homelessness or in between houses or transients or whatever, but people finding their way. And they wanted to take our food. And it's like, no, this food is for me and my kids. And they were like coming over and like they were starting to like paw through some things. And she was like, maybe thinking about donating a little bit of stuff. And then after a sec, she was just like, you know what? No, no, we're leaving. Like, I bought this food for my kids. We're not exactly rich. And just because you want to live this lifestyle. And that's true. If you're going to be they call them wooks now. Basically, like festival goers and usually drug dealers or drug users. And like, really not contributing a lot to society. Like, I mean, they may have a job, may not. And oh, look, there's even another ruined portal. Oh, by the way, I think I did this off camera, but I found a ton of obsidian. Actually, I don't even think we were exploring during the last musings, but now we are, and oh my gosh, this is. I want to build a little base down here. So this reminds me of some Waterworld vibes, but like just being out in the water and then surrounded, and then like, although granted they didn't find land for a while. Anyways, or did they ever? I don't know. I'm just kidding. I don't want to ruin the movie for anyone. I am going to take this iron, though. I see it sticking out. So, but anyways, so the car is good. The car is good, but it still raises the concern of, interest rates are too high. Like it's almost impossible to really succeed in this country without a lot of hard work, and I mean a lot. And if you have a criminal record, then that work is multiplied easily. Like it takes an average about 10 years for a record to cool off. And by that I mean for someone to be like, "Oh, you have a felony in your past? Oh, okay. Well, it's over 10 years old. That's fine." And most companies, I don't think, are even allowed to discriminate. Um, or maybe they, I don't know. But it's really. Actually, should we go ahead and? Nah, let's leave it. We've got plenty of obsidian, and then through that we will get all the lava that we need, or all the magma that we need. Um, So let's continue to explore. But I think I am going to at least start streaming on YouTube, maybe Twitch on Sundays. Like I usually put out a couple of these videos on Sunday when I have some time. The kids are over at their other house, so like sometimes they're still here, which is great. But like at the same time, it's kind of neat having like a break from parenting. Like half the week I'm a parent and the other half, I mean, I'm always a parent, like, and if my co-parent ever needs anything, I'm, a quick message away. But like at the same time, I get to like unwind, clean up the house. Not that I can't do it when they're here, but it just makes it a lot easier because there's a lot of distractions and like and I love that too. Don't get me wrong. Like the kids are always learning. They're doing so much cool stuff and especially with tech too. Like they're both well versed in the VR. Um, like my son's playing this football game now on the VR. He's all about the football. So, which is funny because the guy I bought this car from is actually from my football team in high school, and we were talking about the good old days and the fellas. And there's a training camp that happens in Buena Vista every year during the summer. And one of my other buddies from the team asked me if I wanted to be a part of it. I told him, yeah, I'd love to, but my car is all busted. I can't really make it down there. Plus, I'm kind of broke, and that was back when I was um, trying to get my kids back because of some things. But I don't know, just ridiculous stuff. But then people are gonna be like, oh, no. Anyways, But the streaming, I think that needs to be a thing. I think I'm ready to start building a community of white hats, of good intentioned people, of good kind people, because everybody has the potential to be that way. It's just we need to alleviate some factors to allow everybody to be that way. And one of them is high interest rates. That is one of the biggest wastes in our generation is interest. That means that you could buy something, but you're going to pay way more, like an additional third or 50%, an additional 30 to 50% on whatever you're buying. So you're basically buying like one and a half of them just to buy one on credit. And then you got your credit score, which holds you from, like, I'm trying to like look into getting a house too now. And it's like, and I'm not rich, I'm not wealthy by any means. And thanks to my checkered background, criminal record, I didn't even get a good job for a while. I mean, I did finally. Actually, no, that's not true. 2 weeks after I graduated college, I had a 50K job as a software developer, but it was for a company that I don't really agree with the mission statement. It was software for, or actually just like the application of it. It was for liquor warehouses, and liquor was the main problem for my checkered past. Like if I wasn't drunk so much, I would have been a lot better off. But shoulda, coulda, woulda, and that's the only way you really learn is by like firsthand observations. Like you got to see it to believe it, and then otherwise it could be fake. It could just be fancy words, and now it could be deep fake with AI. Um, I saw Allie K. Miller. I know I've mentioned this before, but Allie K. Miller is an amazing advocate for AI, for women in STEM, for she's an investor in AI and like all this, and she's always like following like the top trends. And I found her on LinkedIn actually. LinkedIn was like, and this was when I was looking for a new job. And I was like, well, what should I study to get ready for a new job? Like, what should I polish up on? Because if you're trying to get into a tech career, you really have to know your stuff. Like, or you at least have to prove that you know enough to get started and you're able to find out the rest. Like, your Google foo is strong. Your ability to research solutions is strong. Whatever the case may be. And that goes for any tech job. AI, software developer, software engineer, IT. Um, I know there's a ton more. I'm just kind of database admin or database working, data science, that's all tech. And it all requires a bunch of education and skill learned from years of using it. And I graduated back in 2016, so now I've almost been in the field for 10 years. And even then, for 2 of those years, I wasn't really in the field. I mean, I was in like, I guess it was still a tech, and that's actually one of my TAs from the cyber boot camp told me was building wind turbine blades. Hmm. Sorry, my throat was getting dry, but building wind turbine blades, he was like, I would still consider that a technical role because I was first line maintenance. I promoted up like not even a year with the company, and I got a promotion to operator level two. So first was operator level one, where you're there, you're building the wind turbine blades, you're following procedures and processes, and you're doing something. You're like doing the physical labor. Now with first line maintenance, I was doing all of that, and I was also cleaning the machinery, like unclogging the wheel. What are those? The wheel casters, and then uh, well, just maintenance basically. And I was actually training to become maintenance, which made a lot of money, and that would have been a fine, cushy job, and I probably could have stuck with it, even with my other job. Like just building the wind turbine blades, I got paid pretty well, and that was the crazy thing is I got paid more than being an IT technician at an aerospace company. Which, and I had one of my colleagues that worked at the same place. He told me he's like, "Well, you didn't make it past the probationary period." Well, I was like, "Oh, but that's what I mean. They were jerking me around. They were having me drive to all of their different locations in northern Colorado. Like, I mean, and I didn't have a lot of money for gas. I had a bunch of student debt. I had kids. I had, like all this court costs and everything. And like, and they knew that. And I even asked him when he first, offered me the job. I was like, hey, can this go any higher? Like, I mean, because I was making 50K as a software developer. I know that I might not make that much, quite that much, but they were offering me 38,000. I was like, can I at least do like 40, 45 or something? Like, because that's even like barely livable here if you're living on your own and if you have kids, like, that's barely livable. Like, in fact, I say that, but there's people out there working minimum wage jobs with kids, and that's barely livable. Like, people are resilient and they'll find a way. but all the more reason that we need to come up with these programs to help people like that. And here's my thoughts on that. So like I've been talking about this a lot, like just trying to get rid of people's loans, their debt. Like, let them get their credit card, whatever, live the fancy life, and then once they realize that credit cards are, you got to be careful with them and all that, myself included. Then it's like, oh, well, now I'm in this hole and I'm going to be paying this interest, and now you're trapped. So if someone can come in, and I know there's a bunch of those debt relief agencies, and I think that could be part of the efforts, because I mean, I'm basically thinking, um, oh, I love jungles. Oh, this is a jungle. I just realized. Nice. This map is a very neat map. It's got this jungle area, which you can just climb up vines a lot of the time. I should try to get the pandas back to my base because I've got tons of bamboo for them to enjoy. Maybe I'll do that at some point. But anyways, like those debt relief agencies, I'd really like to, because mostly they're scams. Mostly they are, and especially even if they aren't like scams, like outwardly right, like taking your student loan debt and then changing it into debt is a bad idea, because as long as it's student loan debt, the government's still working things out, trying to make it even it out. I mean, because the cost of college, and I'll keep referring to this, um, President Biden put out something about how it was his White House paper for explaining. Didn't I see another one? I thought I saw another. Oh well. It's just one iron. We can deal with that. Let's continue on. But, anyways, the Pell Grant has stayed mostly the same, much like minimum wage in this country, while the cost of college has skyrocketed. And so, in the Pell Grant, I'm one of the recipients because my family didn't make enough or made a low amount of income to qualify for that. Plus, I mean, granted, well, I wasn't quite a first generation. My dad went to school, my mom went to school, and then had to finish her degree later after paying for the kids and all that and raising us and all those expenses. But she finally was able to go back and finish her undergrad degree. And then my dad actually taught classes at UCCS for photography. Um, Ended up being a minor. Like I mean, he just like a gold minor, not like a underage person, obviously. But um, and he yeah. So anyways. I guess part of the projects that I'm trying to work on could be researching these debt forgiveness places or these debt agencies that help you get out of debt, that maybe help you consolidate, help you repay. Because at the end of the day, all it really takes is for a bunch of people to come together and pool their funds and start directing at people like, all right, this month we'll direct all the funds to go to this person, and then and once you get people on a repayment plan, and then they'll be paying back into the pot. So all it takes is the catalyst of the initial investment, maybe like $1 million. If I take $1 million and then I get, let's say the average credit card debt is about five to $10,000. Let's just say 10,000, right? So that's four zeros out of the six zeros. So you could help 100 people with that. If you did 100, right? Or is that 100,000? 100,000 would be able to help out 100 people with 1,000. Sorry, I'm just doing this in my head, and I don't do a lot of math. I mean, even when I'm programming with computers and stuff, I don't. I let the computer do the math, and then I look up things online if I forget how to do a mathematical equation. I did the math. I passed through. I made it to Calc 1, barely. And that's all I really needed. That's all you really do need to program computers. I mean, it's still a good idea to know how calculus works, and especially if you're going into like engineering or you need to deal with computer programs that model things, like you need to have ways to have integrals in like the entirety of the area and volumes in certain situations, stuff like that. But no, take $1 million, help out 100 people with a $10,000 debt, and that's it. Boom. And you charge 1.5% interest. And then that 100 people are making payments. You schedule the payments just like you would any other debt. But you take that 10 grand and you give that to them, or that could be like their down payment for a house or something, or like their car. It doesn't matter. I'm just saying, like, just throwing numbers out there. And of course, if this grew to, like, say, $1 billion, if you could convince Elon Musk to do $1 billion towards this, especially if it mostly benefited his workers. Like, in fact, that's the thing I kind of want to do, is I want to inspire this as a scalable model, or a replicable model that scales. It definitely is scalable. I mean, you could even have a neighborhood, like, instead of doing poker nights or whatever, just say you got together and you put some money down, and then, like, you started talking about it and had a meeting and be like, hey, yeah, and it only be a lounge. Like, I don't know. I'm just thinking, like, when you try to do meetings and stuff, it's harder for the success of the effort. But if it's just like a laid back thing, like maybe everybody meets at a bar to play pool, or a smoke lounge to, consume, adults, by the way. I don't condone underagers using any substances, but um, if you're an adult, you're at a coffee shop and you're hanging with your peers, and we talk about this thing and we've got this fund, and then you got to have multiple eyes on it too, to keep from having fraud and embezzlement. Because I mean, growing up, I knew a treasurer that's exactly what she did. She was embezzling funds from Chaffey County, from Buena Vista specifically, and it's like, whoa. I mean, she was the treasurer, and so she was in charge of the money, but and I was the treasurer for the Association of Computing Machinery, and all that ever amounted to is I collected membership fees, and then I gave them to the president, and that was it. And then, or actually, I didn't even give them to the president. I gave them to the computer science department building. The few ones that I actually got, I kept a ledger, like, but I'd turn around and handed it over, and then I would actually go and buy the pizza with my money, and then get reimbursed, and that was fine. But yeah. So, anyways, handling money, being trusted with money. And I was too. When I was at Subway, I was like an assistant. Well, I was an assistant manager, and I was about to be a manager of my own store. And I used to go and drop off the cash drops. Anywhere from like $5,000 to $10,000. Actually, at that location, it wasn't quite that high. We didn't do a lot of business, but and then same with when I was a pizza delivery driver, and then I worked in the kitchen. I was trusted with the cash drops for that a couple of times, not often, but um, and that was a lot more though. But either way, anybody can do it, and you can only screw up once, and then you're in jail or whatever. But like, as long as you know it's not your money. So, anyways, my point being is, if we did this program right, where we had, let's say, yeah, $1 million, I'll bet you I could get at least one person to do $1 million. Taylor Swift would love to do that. I mean, granted, she'd probably want it all focused as helping, people from her camp, more Democrats, maybe Swifties. In fact, that's what should happen. Oh, see, right there. All I got to do is get a message to Taylor Swift, and just explain like what I'm trying to do, and be like, and I don't have to be involved in any way. I'm just saying, hey, this is a great idea. It helps with philanthropy. It makes everybody feel good, and it helps real people get out of debt or get on their feet or whatever, or get a car so they can drive their kids around safely, or themselves safely, and not for people being greedy or anything. It's just, people living within their means, and they could use a little assistance. And so, and once it gets trendy like that, then I see all sorts of people doing it, like football players especially. I was on the X app, and this is what kind of sparked this a little bit. Is this guy, this IT guy? He posts a lot of like more conservative views, which is good, because I need to understand the quote unquote other side better. Even though a lot of my friends are Republicans, but MAGA Republicans at that. So, like, my best friend is like the biggest Trump supporter I know. And I give him a hard time about it. He gives me a hard time for voting Democrat usually, but like, at the same time, we're friends. I mean, granted, this whole Civil War thing is kind of scary. Like, there's a bunch of rumblings about that, but I still trust that I would never. I don't think I could ever see myself fighting any of my friends. Like, it's just not worth it. It's politics, and after 4 years, it's going to change back to the other way. Like, it's like a pendulum on a swinging clock. Like, Republican this time, Democrat this time, and then back and forth and back and forth, and we're kind of shimming our way to a better society, a better country, a better world. And there's a lot of bloodshed going on with it, and it's just ridiculous still to this day. That's one of the biggest embarrassing things about saying that I vote Democrat, is all the blood on our hands. Like, look at all the weapons we're shipping over. Look at that. I mean, for one thing about Trump, he could probably end the Ukraine war, not in a favorable way, and not in a way like, let's see, if you think about it like dentistry, or even rot in like wood and construction. If you do a half measure and you just put a band-aid over it, the rot's still there. So Putin is still a dictator of Russia. He's the wealthiest man in the world. Ah, but see, right there, Putin can make it all right by taking just a fraction of his wealth and doing this program and reinvesting in the Russian people and proving that, hey, I have a lot of money. Russia, you've treated me very well. Now here is my time to pay it back to you. Because, I mean, how much money does one person really need, honestly? Like it's ridiculous. So same with Trump too. I mean, and I feel kind of bad for Trump because he's paying these like hundreds of millions of dollars out to these lawsuits, and I don't think that's really fair. I mean, like especially the one where he inflated the value of his businesses to defraud people. Like I keep seeing this stuff about how the banks were repaid, the banks are fine with it, they didn't care, like because it was still business. I mean, that's a lot of money changing hands and interest and all that. And the banks already, I kind of have a bone to pick with them for the high interest rates and the Fed or whatever. But like, and I don't buy that crud. Whenever I talk to a bank and they're like, "Well, the federal rate is this," and I was like, "Yeah, but are you your own person? Can you do your own thinking? Like, could you decide to make your own rate and do better business?" No, they're not going to because the Fed sets a limit as to how high they can price gouge their customers. That's about it. That's how I see it. I mean, what else is it? Like it's some arbitrary like agency like oh throwing out numbers like throwing darts at a wall like all right we're gonna make the interest this or the interest that and it's like come on now when you got like yeah people making six figures driving up the national deficit and then telling us that we need to scrimp and save and donate to their politics like really. How about you just pocket the money you didn't spend? No, I'm kidding. That's fraud. That's embezzlement. But um, whoops. Oh, oh. Ah. Sorry, I don't have anywhere safe to set my controller. Just a sec. But anyways, and actually, I got to get going. I got to start working. Oh, it's 22 minutes, so we'll do a little more time. But that's the goal. So I think I'm gonna start streaming because I want to start getting some interaction with the people and start organizing a group because we are stronger together. And the more we realize that humans are just pretty much the same, regardless of where they live at in this world, we all have the same wants, desires, needs on a biological level. We are identical. Like, I mean, it's not, or the differences between races or quote unquote like ethnicities or whatever is marginal and negligible. Like, it's minimal. Like the actual how much I differ. Now, granted, there's tall people, short people, fat people, skinny people, like all that, and like sometimes that's just your body type, and that's how like I was always broad shoulders, and I always had a pot belly. Like it's just kind of a thing. Like yeah, I didn't eat the healthiest, but at the same time, you know, I still did a lot of exercise and football too. Like reminiscing about our football days with my buddy the other day. Like that was just funny. Uh, and we even went to a Young Life camp, and I'm not even that religious. Like but it was a thing. Like they encouraged a lot of the football players to go, and we are like, okay. We were kind of like leaders in our community. People looked up to us for what was good to do and what wasn't good to do, and we were all we did is we ran around chasing each other for a couple hours every day. But it was that couple of hours every day, I guess, which was the significant part of being part of any sport, like sport or club. Like you need to have something where you dedicate time and effort. Physical effort is good, but also camaraderie and teamwork. And that's one of the biggest things that like we try to push nowadays is because oh gosh, this is very dangerous, a very dangerous area. Don't die. I've already died once on these musings. Oh, is that water? It is. Okay. Anyways, but yeah, and YouTube and Twitch and like I kind of want to get back into Twitch streaming, but I'm not great at talking to people like about random stuff. Like I could talk about what I'm trying to talk about and answer questions too. I love helping with tech problems. Like I do IT for a living. Like every day I get anywhere between 1 and 3, well, not really. It's been slow lately, but because I'm actually finally doing a good job. No, actually, this whole IT team was basically like a turnover. It's like a whole new team almost, but like we're finally getting things figured out. I've been there almost 2 years or a year and a half, and I see no end in sight. Like as long as I don't screw up and do something really stupid, which I wouldn't put it past me, but I'm older, I'm wiser, and I'm also a lot more tired. So I'm a lot less likely to do anything radical or or out there because who's got the time? Who's got the effort? Like, no, but no, fixing problems. Like, and that's actually one of the biggest things that I want to do with this streaming stuff is to help random people with their tech frustrations, because and security too. Like, I just found out that I'm probably being defrauded by to the tune of $100 to my credit card every month. Now, for some people, that would just completely break them. They'd be like, "Oh, and I'm not much better off." Like, that's still something I can't just eat, and if I could, I would want to donate it away. Like, spending that $30 for a copy of, actually it was 40 because I could only do it in $20 gift cards. But $40, and that kid was so happy, and he worked for it too. He did work. Now I didn't pay taxes on it or anything, so like it was more of like a favor, and then we traded like, I'll give you a video game if you give me these pictures. Like that's a barter system. Now granted, I don't know. And that's annoying too. And we need to figure that out. Like taxes, tariffs, barriers to trade and all that for small people. Now for big people and companies, okay, I'm a little more comfortable with that because they've got the resources to spend. I mean, that's like a whole thing. Now, this little thing, like, and plus I already did pay taxes on it. I'm pretty sure because to buy the $40 of um, like part of that price is sales tax. So this person from another country paid sales tax. Granted, it was really me, but either way, taxes were paid on the goods sold. Like Microsoft made money off of one copy of Minecraft, which if you talk to the people of Minecraft, I'm sure that, I mean, I don't know, I'm just kidding. Like, I think it actually said somewhere in there that outside the US, you're supposed to go to a different place or something or a different link. And that's actually why gift card scammers are so popular right now, or gift card scams, because all it is a digital number that once that number is transmitted, there's no real recourse except for where is that card used. So each card has a significant number, or an identifying number, and each card, like, so it is traceable. Basically, is what I'm trying to say. When you redeem a gift card, you're entering in that ID, and so now they have your IP address, they have your region, your geographical location, like they have all sorts of information about you. And then if they don't, they can easily get that and they can raise a report, investigate a case, like, and I hope I didn't cause any problems like that to the kid, but basically, yeah. Okay, actually, where are we at now? 27. Sorry, I didn't set an alarm, so I'm kind of like watching the clock, checking this clock, and there's a lot of cool ruined portals, but very dangerous because magma blocks will suck you down and it'll destroy your boat too. So if you stay in it for too long, actually wait, I don't like how that. Also, I saw a desert temple. There we go. Oh, we could do some archaeology, and that's one of the new things about. Oh, and here's some coral. All right, this is making me happy. Sorry, I do want to fix this. There we go. That's at least closer. So, but anyways, if we get Taylor Swift to donate $1 million to just loans, and then so every month, if they made payments, they'd have to make it to whatever they were paying originally to their credit cards or whatever debt they absorbed. I mean, we wouldn't want them to start paying like too much more on something like this. If anything, ideally it would be the same payment that they were already doing on their credit cards, but just with a lot lower interest. So every month, and that's about for $10,000 of debt, I'd say that's easily like $200 a month for the payment. Um, so if they're paying $200 back, and if you got 100 people paying $200 every month, then every month you've got, what is that, 2,000 or 20,000? I think that's $20,000. And then check that out. So even just with their interest payments coming in, you can rope up two more people every month. Forgive their $10,000 debt, and then they pay you $200 a month. Boom. And that is a very, ooh, that's actually really, whoa, that's like pay it forward on steroids. And everybody wins. Like the money comes back. The people pay less for their goods because they don't have to deal with lots of interest just because they don't have money or relatives or friends to help them with the down payment or the money up front. They just don't have a lot of money. So then they pay like almost one and a half or double the price of it or a ridiculous amount. That's what it is. The League of Extraordinary Humans, or something like that. It could have any number of names and just be a group of people that regularly communicate. Like they could have a Facebook group or something. In fact, oh yeah, I already have some ideas. All right, but anyways, yeah. So I'm gonna try to stream here shortly. Like, well, for now I got to get to work, but and I love my job. Don't get me wrong. I love IT. It is frustrating and rewarding and stressful and fun and actually it's mostly just fun because the stuff that I help people with is really well trivial. It's very like minimal, not that big of a deal, and they're very patient with me too, and I appreciate all that. And like, and you got to give respect to earn respect too, and that I learned from my checkered past, but having to live with some people that I wouldn't normally have lived with. Actually, maybe. I don't know. Anyways, let's finish this round and see where we're at. I made short work of exploring this map. It's a lot of water, but still, it's I can see a potential for a massive water roller coaster just down the middle of this. And it's deep water too. You see how it's like the darker blues on the map? I realize that's like water that's a little deeper. So, all right. Well, that's good for today. Hope you all enjoyed. I'll see you in the next one. And keep an eye out for. I did have some projects and some jam boards and stuff. Jam boards being phased out, so I need to find an alternative method for that. Google Docs. I'm going to make some public Google Docs where everybody can participate in. But granted, you have. I mean, I'm going to take away the anonymity, and so if you contribute, you can see every revision and then you can see who did it. So if somebody tries to spam or something, well, you can get banned from it. So, anyways, ta ta for now. I will see you in the next one.